Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Michelle. How are you this morning?
Very well, thank you. And you, Level.
Very well, thanks. And dare I say, you look gorgeous this morning.
Don't
Good
indicate.
morning, Ian.
Good morning. Thank you.
How are you doing this
I hope you're
morning?
not going to say that I look gorgeous this
No,
morning as well. I'm just
your wife
You
is
look
not in the
very
background,
bright.
so no.
You look very, very bright. But
very
thank you
bright.
so much. Yes,
Okay.
for for having this chat with me this morning. We are, of course, talking about Saint Bernard's, but specifically, we're going to highlight the Sweat Challenge, which is coming up on the 14th until the 16th of June. We'll talk some more about that just now.
Great.
Michelle, tell us briefly. You are from Saint Bernard's, and you run the marketing and fundraising side there. Tell me a little bit about your work and about Saint Bernard's, just briefly. I know that your Saint Bernard's motto is about affirming life,
Yes,
offering compassionate care to the East London community. But please tell us some more about that.
yes. Okay, Level. Our nursing sisters and carers go visit patients in their homes. It's usually patients with life-limiting and life-threatening diseases like cancer, TB, HIV. People that we categorize them in stages. So if they're stage 1 and 2, five being a little bit better and perhaps stronger. It's not always about end of life. It's about when they're debilitated in their homes and they can not fend for themselves. We do home-based palliative care. So our carers and our nurses visit the patients. They educate the family. A very sick person usually has a carer with them. We educate the carer. We check the medication, check that they're eating, and we sort of check the well, these are the nurses and the care. They check to see that they if they've got any challenges. You take morphine, you might have challenges that are associated with that. They address those challenges as they go along. Um, we always we always say we specialize in palliative care, but it's also the psychosocial side of it. So in other words, if somebody passes away or if somebody's sick, our social welfare workers check that there's no extended family, perhaps children that aren't being looked after, perhaps with the parents being sick or the mother being sick, because we've got single parents families nowadays. So we
Mm.
attend to those as well. um, we have 5 qualified nursing sisters. We have 29 carers. So it's quite an intricate group of people. We haven't come to a standstill during the coronavirus pandemic. We business as usual. I'm in the fundraising department. There's 2 of us. My colleague who does the external applications, and I sort of do the events and marketing. So that's a little bit about St. Bernard's Hospice.
Mhm.
All right. Ian, your involvement with St. Bernard's Hospice. Tell me a little bit about that, please.
Okay, so how I became involved was, I think it was 2017. I signed up to do the St. Bernard's Hospice Cycle Challenge. In that particular year, it was still being run from Port Elizabeth to East London, and I think that was the first year that Marshall was involved in running the event as well. So that's where our contact was made. But my little bit of a history behind it is. My first sort of hearing of hospice and the hospice organization was when my late mom-in-law was diagnosed with cancer, and towards the end of her life she received some home-based care. I think in those days it was possibly called border hospice, maybe not St.
Yeah.
Bernard's Hospice,
Yeah.
but yeah, so she received some home-based care. So that was the experience that I'd had back at that day, and then I hadn't been involved or heard much more about it. And from a cycling point of view, I started cycling probably 20 years ago, and then maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, a little bit more seriously, I tried my hand at running and things like that, but I've got some ankle injuries carried over from my sporting days and from my army days that didn't allow me to run without much pain. And I found that cycling was I was able to cycle longer distances without pain because of there's no impact on the road, as one would have with running or even walking. I started doing some long distance walking, and I also found that towards the end of that, I was starting to have problems with my ankle and my one knee. So the cycling for me was the answer. And then as we get more involved in these kind of events, we start testing our bodies a little bit more. So I started doing longer distance cycling, some of these longer distance over 100-kilometer races and things like that. And then I just said to my wife one day, I'd love to do one of these stage rides, these multi-stage rides and things like that. And she happened to see the St. Bernard's Cycle Challenge on their Facebook page, spoke about it, and I entered. And so that was the year that we rode, or the last time, in fact, that we rode from East London. From Port Elizabeth to East London. So yeah, that was when I met Marshall. It was over 3 days, approximately 100 kilometers a day. And then unfortunately, that route closed to us because of all the roadworks that were taking place between East London and Port Elizabeth. So the road authorities didn't want to let us use that route. And then Marshall and them, we looked at a new route, and it was involved going to Queenstown and back. Marshall, maybe you can just chat about why Queenstown was significant to us in looking at that route.
Okay, before you do that, Michelle,
okay.
I just want to go back to what you talked about when you were telling us about St. Bernard's. Your comment about it not being necessarily about end of life. And I think that's an important thing that you've highlighted, because a lot of times when we're thinking St. Bernard's is a hospice, we're thinking, okay, those people are dying anyway, but there is a lot more in that. How has it affected you as St. Bernard's, the COVID-19 thing, while you are looking after people who are not necessarily at end of life? We're looking to help them to start again, whether after COVID or right now in their lives.
Well, Abel, St. Bernard's Hospice doesn't make an impact on many people's lives unless you have a friend, neighbor, relative, loved one who needs our services. We've been business as usual. We've had to look after the patients. We haven't had COVID-19. Obviously, those aren't our patients at this point in time. It's our normal patients. We've got to have extra care. Our nurses and carers are qualified or trained to be cautious. So they have rubber gloves on and they have masks on, especially when they're dealing with TB or susceptible TB. You know what I mean? That's drug-resistant TB. So they've just been carried on as normal. We've got to be extra cautious. It has affected us because the admin side, and obviously our events have been cancelled. If you want to talk about it affecting hospice as such, I mean, we had 3 events planned for, and that's just my side, planned for March, April, May. And we've got the school's copper drive that sort of runs for a term. I mean, that brings in 60,000 Rand. Our other events, so we've lost over 200,000 Rand, if you think about it, just in events, the possibilities so we have to make that up. We're hoping things improve towards the end of the year. Ian, this is one of Ian's initiatives again. It was 2016, Ian. He came up with this virtual cycle challenge. He was talking to my colleague about that. And, I'm not geared. I've been doing events. We organize our events. We phone the people. We attend. It's the old way. And it's changed. This has sort of changed gears, fast gears. You know what I mean? We've had to change our whole. So it's an adjustment. I'll be honest. I was in shock for the first month. I thought, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? I'm not geared up for this. I can't do it. So, when Ian came up, it's a difficult one, but it's a challenge. And all of a sudden I thought, just to get this thing up and running and make a certain amount of money is a challenge. So there alone I'm being challenged. And it's an opportunity. Challenges are opportunities. So that's where this one came about. You know what I mean? And it's affected hospice financially, but we just don't give up. And it's been proven that non-profits that adjust to the times survive. And hospice has been going for 30 years in 2021. and we do not want to close our doors because financially we rely on the public and community. So if we don't make a success of these things and we don't change our way of thinking, it's not going to happen. We're going to close doors.
Okay.
Does that answer your question a bit?
It does, it definitely does. And you've shed a little bit more light on what it is you guys do. So you guys, St. Bernard's Hospice goes to people. You've got a clinic side, and then you've also got a outreach type of going to the patients and stuff.
Sorry, we closed our inpatient unit in 2013 because it was just not financially sustainable. So we visit patients in their homes. We go to the social welfare side of it. We do have social welfare workers that follow up and check the impact on the families. And so we do home-based palliative care. That's what it comes down to. Sadly, I wish we did have an inpatient unit, but financially we just can't have one right now.
Right. So you're really at the front lines because you've got essential workers, essential carers that have to go and see people in their own homes.
Community. And you know what the Eastern Cape community's terrain is like. So it can be very challenging. If it rains, and we have patients down in those, they won't turn away. These ladies, I've got so much admiration for our nurses and carers. Honestly, they are tenacious. They are, and I hear their stories because, you know, I just do the blog side of the hospice website as well. I write the stories, like now our newsletter's coming out. I'm doing a day in the social welfare workers, a day in her life. And, you know, I just sit there listening and I'm in awe. You know, some of the illnesses aren't very nice. You know, cancer, you can either go into remission or, you know, you could be at the end of life. So there's always TB's curable now. AIDS is HIV is manageable. So the change, there you go, it's changed. A couple of years ago, it was the end of life. That's all hospice dealt with. We've got to change our whole pattern of thinking, but it does put a strain on hospice financially because we have patients over a longer period. You know what I mean? And the economy is bad. So, yes, I'm interrupting there. I'm passionate about the organisation. I have always been passionate about the organisation. You know what I mean? But
you are, and I can tell.
But just working there and meeting the nurses. I've been out on 1 or 2 home visits. It's honestly not easy out there. I don't think it's in any non-profit, but specifically, ours is not a very glamorous job. Not that any struggle is glamorous, but it's not about, you know, you have to have a commitment, you have to have a passion.
Yeah. Okay, so Ian wanted us to hear about the Queenstown side of the race.
Yes, I've got off that one.
Yeah, just quickly, Marshall know a little bit more about the history about why we changed the route to Queenstown. So I thought maybe she could just share on that before we look at the challenge itself when that comes up. Yeah.
Okay, the challenge 2016, Ian, that was my first year, and that was the year that you cycled from PE to East London.
That's right. Yes, yeah.
Then, you know, the road, that was a very hair-raising journey because the sort of edge of the roads had been taken away because they were developing the road. It was an interesting one, and we managed, but it was a very hair-raising one. And then we planned for the following year, 2017, and Samuel wrote us a letter saying they can't take their they just won't be able to get the road ready by then. You know, they can't take the risk. So we had to.
It was a safety issue in which we understood. Yeah.
And it's not just about the cyclists; it's about the road as well, about the vehicles on the road.
Users,
road users, yes, absolutely. So it's about everybody. So then we thought, well, what are we going to do? We needed a route. And they had done the Queenstown route a couple of years back. It was like an extra long one. So Ian quickly did the first recce trip to Queenstown to check the stops because you've got to cycle 10 or 15 Ks and then you've got to stop. So he did a recce trip to Queenstown and back again, and he said, yes, it's possible. So that came into effect in 2017, and we've done 3, but the cyclists like the PE route. So I am going to be appealing to SANROL to find out when they're going to be opening that route, because our plan was to have it in 2021, was from PE to East London again. That is our plan. And that is our wish.
Yeah.
This year we were going to give it a miss, which was quite strange because then COVID came about. Or shouldn't I say that? I should say it was planned. We had to cancel because of COVID. Let me rephrase that. But that's how Queenstown came about.
Yeah. And I think Queenstown was quite a popular choice for the trip because one of our major sponsors was the Queenstown through the Queenstown Round Table. So we got a lot of support from Queenstown residents and things like that. So that was quite important that we did that. Yeah. So I mean the challenge this year was, we had spoken at the end of the last cycle challenge last year, November, that maybe we wouldn't do anything in 2020. The support from the cyclists was sort of waning a little bit, especially the guys from Queenstown. They didn't want to drive to East London, ride back to Queenstown, then cycle to East London, and then drive back to Queenstown, because there was quite a big group from Queenstown. So yeah, they'd expressed sort of a different kind of interest in that. And then a little while ago, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, Lauren, who's the financial lady there, phoned me one day just to ask about this on this Zwift, which is a platform that one can use, a virtual platform that you can cycle on. So you put your stationary bike on this platform with a TV in front of you, and you can virtually cycle anywhere in the world. It does cost money though. You have to buy the package or the app or whatever, and you download it onto your phone or your computer. So we spoke about doing, maybe doing an online challenge or something like that. Because at that stage we were still in lockdown level 4, or in fact, we might have still been in level 5. So that people were exercising in their homes or the confines of their own properties. And then it eased to lockdown level 4, and we spoke and we said, well, people don't have to do this, the virtual cycle, because you can still exercise, because it's not just the cycle that we're looking at. You can do any form of exercise, providing it was within the 5K radius that the regulations were at that time. And then obviously now we've eased into level 3, where the time frames of 6 until 9 in the morning and the 5 kilometer radius has fallen away. But the whole idea about it is to still do a challenge that people can cycle, can run, can walk, whatever they want to do. And I mean, we'll chat about the different sort of challenge aspects, because we've got 4 different challenges, but they can do it in, whichever route they want to do. And the regulations prevent you from hosting an event, and an event to us is where a group of you starting from the same place, riding the same route and finishing at the same place. That constitutes an event that we understand, whereas this is more of a challenge. You enter, you do your own route, you do your own time frames. You don't even have to do, if you're going to enter the long Maxi challenge, you don't even have to do the 100 kilometers or the 5 hours all at once. You can split it up into parts. So that was how the idea came about.
Over the 3 days then that you would split it up.
Yes, yeah. And the reason for the 3 days that we spoke about is, historically the St. Bernard's Cycle Challenge has been a 3-day event. So we thought we'd try and, keep with that 3-day event, but try and incorporate more people into it. So it's not just a cycle challenge. It's not just a road cycle challenge like we had before. This you can do anywhere. You can, in fact, the people can still use their virtual platforms, and they can do it, providing they are able to record it and able to present evidence to us afterwards that they've done the challenge in the different category that they've entered into. And by this,
what evidence is that? So what is that evidence going to be in the form of?
Okay, so a lot of people use applications on their phones, things like Strava or Endomondo, or I don't know what the various names are, but the most popular one seems to be one called Strava. So basically what you do is you have your ride, and you start it, and looks at GPS coordinates, and it basically plots your route, your ride, your walk, your jog, or whatever form you do. It plots your route for you. And when you finish it, then you can actually take a screenshot of your route, and you can post that. So we've got a WhatsApp group that all the participants will go into, and then they can post their route. So we want, if people are entering the big challenges, we want them to give us some form of evidence that they've done something, they've done the challenge or whatever. Or so the Maxi challenge that we came up is geared around the sort of the top guys who want to really, prove to themselves that that they've done this 3-day challenge. So there we've said to them, a minimum of 100 kilometers a day over the 3 days from the 14th to the 16th, or 5 hours of some form of exercise. So if they can give us the proof of that, it doesn't have to be all at once. They can split it into 2, they can split it into 3, providing that we've got evidence that they've done that kind of thing. They can go into that one. And for that one, there's a donation of 150 Rand that a person would pay. And the one great thing that we've got with these challenges, and which we're starting to accumulate now, is we've got some fantastic prizes. So we've got different prize categories that people can win prizes for doing this. So they're entering something, they're helping with the fundraising, and there's an opportunity for them to win some prizes. Then the mini challenge, which we looked at, is maybe the people who don't want to do the long one, but they want to do some form of that. So there, it's a 2-hour challenge per day. So whatever activity they do for a period of 2 hours, record it, post it, give it to us. And we'll come back to whoever maybe wins that, or whoever does the most in the 2 hours or the longest distance and that kind of thing. And for that one, there's a donation of 100 Rand that go to that. And then the exciting one that we looked at.
Ian, hold on.
Yeah,
Go back.
too much information.
Okay.
Go back. Okay.
Not even. It's the fact that you are saying what the donation amounts are, but you're not telling us what the prizes are. Do we know what those are at this stage?
Well, we're still accumulating prizes at this stage, but yeah, there are some exciting ones. I mean, we've got some cycling water bottles. We've got vouchers. We've got
vouchers.
I think there's meat vouchers. There's so a lot of that is still coming in. But certainly we want to give as many people as possible prizes in the different sort of categories and that. And I was saying the one exciting one that we came up with is maybe families want to get involved. Maybe the dad or the mom doesn't want to just go off and do her thing for the 3 hours or whatever. So we thought, let's do a family challenge. So for an hour over the 3 days, if a family can get together and do some form of activity that they can record, and send it into us, and there we're saying to them, dress up. If you want to dress up in some funny outfits or whatever it is, take a photograph and post to it. If you've got a grandma involved in your family who's going to come on, or a great granny, or the different makeup of your family and things like that. So post exciting photos and that while you're doing your challenge, and we'll come up with some prizes for that kind of thing.
Unruly dog, put a collar on an unruly
that would be and I mean, Marshall,
I'll take my Pekingese.
Marshall was saying, a person doesn't have to, if you want to record yourself working in the garden for 2 hours, for instance, that's okay. Send it into us. We'll accept it. Yeah, it's not just about cycling 100 kilometers and that. We want to get some family involvement and things like that. There, once again, donation for the whole family.
So you've got to do something.
Do something that's gonna involve a little bit of sweat. You can go and have a shower afterwards. Right. And then the other thing was, then we said, look, maybe there are people that are working or whatever it is, but who can't do something for the 3 days. So we said, okay, fine. On the 16th, which is the public holiday, if you want to do some form of challenge on that 16th, so that we're calling the 1-day challenge, do some form, I think there we said like a minimum of 3 hours of activity or something like that, and record it on Strava or post. Pardon?
It could be relay. Remember, we said even if
we even said if so, like a family, for instance, if they want to do an activity and relay it, all of those kind of things. So we just thought it would be nice to have an event where it's not just a run, it's not just a cycle, it's not just a walk or something like that. So it gives you a wider variety of activities that can be done. So that was the idea behind it. And we even said with the prizes, you know, if people win the prizes, we'll come and deliver the prizes to their houses, you know, where they win it, or we'll arrange a drive-by that they can come past St. Bernard's office there in Gately, or just off Gately Street in Southernwood, and we'll arrange a drive-by and they can come and get their prizes that they've won that way. So yeah, we're really just appealing to the community to get involved in this. And I feel for St. Bernard's, because, you know, Marshall has spoken to me about them, you know, the loss of the potential fundraising income that they could have had as a result of the loss of events. So we thought this would be an event, you know, that we could try and help you know, help them to get some income. And you know, it's the organization of it isn't as complex and as involved as what we've had to do for other cycle challenges, where people are away, you know, for 3 days from their homes, and the staff involved, you know, have come with us, and it's quite a long thing to get involved. Whereas this one, you can do your own route, you know, even if you want to do it on your indoor cycle or indoor machine in the comfort of your own home, you know, go for it, and just, you know, get your entries into us and things like that.
Interestingly, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm gonna just summarize what these
Yeah.
are, but of course
Thank
they
you.
are posted, and I'll put those out with this. So there's the Maxi Challenge, which is
Yes.
150 rand, and it's over the 3 days.
Yes.
And you can choose what activity you're going to do. Just
That's right.
somebody tell me, do you choose the activity you're going to do in the beginning and declare it? So you send a thing to the WhatsApp group to say, for my Maxi Challenge, this is what I'm going to do over 3 days? Or do
No,
you? Mm.
no, you would just say, I'm going to do the Maxi Challenge. So you don't have to say, I'm going to do the
That's the
Maxi
point.
Challenge and I'm cycling. Just say, I'm doing the Maxi Challenge. That's challenge number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4. You just tell us which challenge, and then you just post your activity. Yeah.
The maxi
In the
minimum,
WhatsApp
that
group.
would be indicated
Yeah.
in the donation amount.
Yeah.
All right. So then, do you, as the days are unfolding, as the challenge is unfolding, are we able to see progress, or do people then post their challenges at the end only? What's
No,
that
no,
like?
we want them on a daily basis. Yeah. So the
Okay.
idea is that we're actually going to meet each evening, after each challenge day, and we're going to go through what, you know, what's come in. So there'll be daily winners, so that, you know, people can win on a daily basis as well. So we're going to look at those kind of things on a daily basis. And during the course of the next day's challenge, we actually will post things onto the group to say, hey, yesterday this is what, you know, there were so many guys doing the Maxi Challenge, and there were, you know, this number of people, and this person did this activity. So we'll actually give people updates as to what happened the day before. Yeah, that's the idea behind it. And I think even yesterday I was chatting with Wayne at Wild Coast FM, and they said, you know, if we give them that information, you know, on a daily basis, they'll also let people know through the stations, you know, what activity goes. And, you know, maybe on this platform, if you've got an opportunity to be able to do that, that would be great. You know, if there are people who get involved through this platform, so that people can see what's happening, you know, maybe other people can challenge, you know, their friends to get involved and to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's the
I'm
idea
just
behind
thinking,
it.
yeah. All right. So some of us just like to silly dance. I call it silly dance because I by no stretch of anybody's imagination am I like a dancer, but to just move around and do that. So
Yes.
I think maybe that just might be the thing that we do. Okay,
Yes.
that's
If
fantastic.
you break into a sweat by doing it,
Yeah.
it's part of the challenge. There you go.
Do I have to show a sweat? Because I don't really sweat. I'm more like just no.
Um, I'm going to leave that up to Marshall to answer. Okay, she can answer
Yeah.
that one.
Okay, Ian, before we let you go,
Yes,
we're running a little bit close to time now.
no problem.
There's something about your bike, particularly, that I was told
Okay.
that it's got
Yes.
the names of everyone that you've
Special
played
bike.
for and things like that. So
Yes, yeah.
that's fascinating.
Okay.
To me.
So the St. Bernard's Challenge, the year after our first road, took us a personal significance for us, is in that my eldest daughter, Danny, was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she received treatment, chemo treatment and radiation treatment. And then a couple of months later, I think it was 6 months later, or not even 6 months, 3 months later, my sister-in-law, Judy, my wife's sister, she was also diagnosed with breast cancer, and she received chemo treatment and some radiation treatment. And by God's grace, both of them are healed and in remission and able to carry on. In fact, Danny and her husband are expecting our third grandchild and in a couple of months' time in November. So that's exciting for them. Yeah. So for me, it took on a personal status in my life because of obviously what we'd been through as a family, with our daughter and sister-in-law being involved. And somebody, I can't remember who mentioned, but somebody, one of the people who had once before done one of the challenges, actually said that they put people's names, they wrote people's names on a list on their bike. So I started doing that, and so what I've got is I have people who have either succumbed to the disease and passed away. I've got a list of those names, and then people who currently undergoing treatment or who have the disease or in remission. I've got those names, and it's unfortunate to say this, but that list actually changes each year on my bike, because as people some people have passed away. Some people who are in the list, in the list at the bottom, have now gone onto the top. And it's terrible to say, but yeah, it's just unfortunate that has happened. And where, the first year we actually, my wife and I went and visited a young girl. She was 21 years old, who was suffering from cancer. She had a large growth in her stomach. And 10 days after we finished that challenge in 2016, this young girl passed away from cancer. So it really is it's a personal thing. It's a personal in our family. And what I do with that list, and then I've got a scripture that each year I change the scripture, and it's always to do with God's strength and how God's strength is going to get us through these challenges in our lives. So what I do is whenever I get to a point with and it's normally up a hill, because the hills are the worst thing to climb up as a cyclist. And some of those hills between East London and PE, or between East London and Queenstown and back are pretty tough. So when you get to a hill, I like, and I'm battling or struggling on the particular climb or whatever, I look down at that list of names and I look at that scripture, and that's what gives me the strength to carry on doing these challenges, because I know that those people who are undergoing these challenges in their life, it's what I'm doing on a bicycle is absolutely nothing to compared to what they're doing in real life. So yeah, so that's the significance of that list of names on my bikes. And it just, for me, it's a personal thing. I pray for those people. If the people are the people having treatment and have the disease, I pray for them. I pray for God's healing upon them, on their life. I pray for God's peace over them and their families at the time as they're going through their struggle. So that's my story.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, thank you so much, Lebo, for giving us this opportunity and this platform to be able to talk about St. Bernard's and the challenge. And my quick goodbye is just to say, as many people as possible, just enter the challenge in whatever of these formats you want to enter the challenge, and let's help raise some really necessary funds for St. Bernard's to carry on the incredible work that they do in our community. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Thank you.
Michelle,
Goodbye.
If people aren't able to do the challenge, how can they get in touch? How can they participate? How can they give to St. Bernard's as well?
If they can visit our Facebook page or our website, or I'll give you my cell, 08 333 56167. SMS me, and I will get in contact with them, give them our banking details, or if they want to know more about the challenge, please contact me. My cell number's out there and available for any queries and questions. And thank you for having us, and thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Have a great